Hola, Cata, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, Miss.
Ok, bueno, listo. Buenísimo. Okay, good morning, Catalina. Thank you for being here today. Before we start, may I have your permission to record this conversation for educational purposes?
Of course, as Carl needs, you have my permission.
Great. Welcome everyone. Today, in today's discussion, we will explore some critical questions about bilingual education policies in Colombia, with a special focus on equity, inclusion, and the role of technology. Let's begin. To start, Catalina, how do the structural inequalities between public and private schools in Colombia affect the equitable implementation of bilingualism policies, particularly regarding access to qualified teachers and technology resources?
That's a very relevant question. Structural disparities create significant gaps in access to trained English teachers and update digital tools. Private schools often have more resources, while public schools, especially in rural areas, struggle to meet even basic requirements.
Thank you. Following that, in what ways does the suggested English curriculum for grades 6 to 11 address or fail to address the linguistic and cultural diversity of Colombia, including indigenous languages and sign language?
The curriculum has made some efforts to include cultural components, but it still lacks a strong representation of Colombia's linguistic diversity. Indigenous and sign language are rarely acknowledged in meaningful ways, which can lead to exclusion.
Speaking of conclusion, how can the integration of learning of knowledge technologies or TAC in English language teaching be optimized to support differentiated instruction and inclusive education for students with special needs?
Integrating TAC effectively requires both training and mindset. Tools like screen readers, interactive gates, and voice recognition software can support different learning, but only if teachers are properly equipped and aware of inclusive strategies.
Okay, that brings us to policy making. What are the implications of centralizing language education policies without fully involving classroom teacher in the design and implementation process?
Centralized decisions often overlook local realities. Teachers are the key agents of innovation, and excluding them can result in generic policies that fail to meet students' needs or reflect the context in which they teach.
Absolutely. Now, how can the development of an application of educational technologies such as Duolingo, Kahoot, or Nearpod be made more culturally and contextually responsive to enhance English learning among students in vulnerable or underserved regions?
Of cultures and realities. For example, using Colombian context and voices in content design could increase engagement and relevance. Offline access is also vital in areas with limited connectivity.
Excellent point. So, what inclusive strategies should be prioritized in bilingual education policies to ensure students with disabilities, including those with visual, auditory, or cognitive impairments, are not left behind?
That mandate accessibility in materials, provide assistance technology, and ensure teachers training in inclusive practice. Inclusion must be a foundation, not an afterthought.
Agreed. Now, let's reflect on rural education. Do you believe that basic learning rights framework truly supports English learning in rural and vulnerable contexts?
While the framework sees clear expectation, it lacks sufficient support mechanisms for vulnerable regions. Without infrastructure and teacher support, the right remains theoretical.
Good. Finally, are current bilingual programs effectively building students' symbolic and language capital?
Not consistently. Well, when implemented well, they can expand opportunities. However, programs often emphasize standardized results over meaningful language use, limiting their impact on real symbolic capital.
Okay, thank you so much, Catalina, for your thoughtful and well-informed answers. These are critical issues that deserve ongoing reflection and action.
Thank you, Miss. It was a pleasure to discuss these important topics with you.
And thank you to everyone watching. We hope this dialogue contributes to deeper conversations about inclusive and equitable bilingual education in Colombia. See you next time.